host.
Which we will not do. We're rolling, though.
This nostalgia is one of the most important ones, and it's one of the most vivid ones in my mind, is Christmas morning at the Clemente household. Every morning, we would, even though we knew almost every year for years what we were getting, because we'd snoop downstairs in the basement, which previous nostalgias indicate, like the X-Men one, we would know what we were getting. We're still really excited for Christmas. They're pretty good at getting us what we wanted, and we were pretty clear on what we wanted every year, so it was a good agreement moving forward. But we would get up early and sneak downstairs, and it was a great scene. I mean, no denying it. You walk downstairs, everything's done up right. Even at a point where we didn't believe in Santa anymore, it was still really cool. You go downstairs, very picturesque. And we get there, and we would wait, and we couldn't make, because we were kind of ran on fear, we couldn't wake them up and say, like, hey, it's Christmas, wake up, haha.
Yeah, I mean, you have in movies, and I'm sure even some of our Chuck's Chasers can attest to their real-life experiences where they go wake up the parents, and the parents begrudgingly, like, wake up and drink their coffee. As we've talked before, we had to be on their schedule and wait, and we dare not disrupt that, so we would wait for them to get their Kugloff and their Pina and the coffee to brew.
Which we'll explain Kugloff and Pina maybe in later
Which
episodes.
we may have, I believe. But continue.
I don't think we have.
Let us know, Chuck's Chasers.
Let us know. But we would sit downstairs, and we would have to be quiet, because if we woke them up under not their own power, they would be very upset. So we would sit down there and make, like, passive noise that they knew that we were awake. Most of the times they'd be awake a little bit further, because maybe they had some type of consideration. But here's where it gets interesting, because this is the same it's been for maybe a decade, maybe even longer. Is that Dad would sit in the chair next to the TV. No, Mom would sit in the chair next to the TV. Dad would sit in the rocking chair, and Jill would pass all presents, which she absolutely loved doing. It came to the point where it became very... it
was a parody of itself. It was comical.
It was a really parody of itself. Which you'll see in Battle Christmas 06, if you look at that. You'll see kind of it in action, in live action. But to get to the funny part, every year, we'd all sit there, us three, and the way our presents worked is each one of us opened a present at a time, and we go in a circle. And we do our stockings first. But we do the stockings, and dependent on what we got, we'd pretend that we liked it. And I don't remember ever getting any, like, really bad gifts.
For me, Christmas could have ended at stocking gifts, and I'd have been happy.
Yeah, stocking gifts are pretty strong.
I remember the one year I got condoms. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was really weird, because you were 9, we had to make sure you didn't need them.
Well, I tried to hang them as stockings.
Anyways, our dad would disappear into the kitchen. And this happened every year. Dad would disappear into the kitchen to fiddle around. I'm not sure if he was getting breakfast ready. We never really knew.
Well, someone should have let him know the kitchen was closed.
Yeah. But he would go in there, and my mom would get so upset with him. And that would be the big thing, is like where Dad went. Every year he went into the kitchen, and there'd be some unwritten rule you couldn't open presents without the entire family being there. Yep. So he would just disappear. Just go. And everyone would sit there and wait impatiently. And you're a kid, you want to open presents, so it's a bit ridiculous. And then eventually, when Jill would get on our nerves, we'd start picking on her.
Yeah.
She'd get upset. Mom would cancel Christmas.
Every year.
That
Christmas, not, I'm not doing this next year. No, like that Christmas.
That Christmas, like, we had to go back in time and erase it from history. She would say, I hope you kept the receipts and you can return everything you got me. Dad would disappear again to do something else. And then once the presents were over, we'd go smaller presents to bigger presents. The big present would be like the finale present, the thing that you wanted the whole time. And afterwards, you would have to, before you would go off and play with your stuff, you'd have to organize them in their own little part of the family room. Yeah. And stack it neatly. If you didn't do that, you couldn't play with anything. So you'd stack it neatly, and then you could go play with a present.
And this is to the point, if I may add, where it was... this is to the point where, like, if one thing was out of place, if one piece of wrapping paper was on the floor, if one cassette tape was, like, not in the stack or not near the stack, and we all had our designated corners, you know, or we'd have to take it immediately to our rooms in later years. I mean, you would be called and interrupted, which, I mean, whatever, I guess parents are teaching responsibility, but it's like, couldn't they maybe just pick it up, understand that we're excited? And if I may just, while there's still good timing, yeah, thank you. Just filming some reaction shots. We'll cut them together later. Christmas with I think it's so ingrained in popular culture that I assume it happens in real life, where like the kids will run into the room where the presents are and just tear them open if they have their name on them. Chuck's Chasers, let us know if that's like a regular thing that kids did, or like open them without parents there, because ours was very regimented. Everyone needed to be present. You needed witnesses for your...
You could maybe look at the tags.
Yeah.
But if...
You couldn't even touch them.
You couldn't touch them.
Lean in
you had to lean in and look.
Because the arrangement of them was also very important. There's a very methodical arrangement of the gifts.
If you touch the tags, you were branded as a fiddler.
And I'm just really curious if that's just something, and this is going to sound codgerly or whatever, or fiddlerly. Did Chuck's Chasers, was that how did your Christmas go? Ours was very strictly regimented. Everyone needed to be present, and it was extremely boring, actually. It was a really boring process that was just not fun at all. And the gratitude was forced and completely unnatural.
Thank you.
I mean, and it was very embarrassing. There's no love in it at all. So I just want to, for me, will say a third time here, I just want to know what your Christmases were like, because I'm wondering how far from the norm ours deviates.